Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Bullhorn Betty, and we cover the case of Nancy Guthrie. Will we ever know what happened to Nancy Guthrie? That is the question that's hanging over this case this morning.
From the East Coast to the West Coast, we are everywhere true crime is. We are asking for the public's help. We are searching in the woods. We are doing what it takes here on the Bullhorn Betty channels to find answers to the most alarming cases
If y'all can
we
hear me,
have
we're going to have to
been
reboot
watching
this.
on
got no
the
sound.
news.
Actually, let me just give it
I
a
can
second.
tell you personally that I have traveled this entire country seeking these answers and bringing that content right here to you here on the Bullhorn Betty channels and Bullhorn Betty Crime Stories. We are happy with the work that we've done. We brought many answers to the public, and we have defied mainstream media in our pursuit of the truth.
Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Bullhorn Betty, and we cover the case of Nancy Guthrie. Will we ever know what happened to Nancy Guthrie? That is the question that's hanging over this case this morning.
From the East Coast to the West Coast, we are everywhere true crime is. We are asking for the public's help. We are searching in the woods. We are doing what it takes here on the Bullhorn Betty channels to find answers to the most alarming cases we have been watching on the news. I can tell you personally that I have traveled this entire country seeking these answers and bringing that content right here to you here on the Bullhorn Betty channels and Bullhorn Betty Crime Stories. We are happy with the work that we've done. We brought many answers to the public, and we have defied mainstream media in our pursuit of the truth in these cases. We will continue to work, we will continue to fight for these victims, and we will continue to tell their stories here on my channels. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty brand of channels and the Coffee Club. Thank you for your love, thank you for your support, and more importantly, thank you for allowing me to bring these victims' stories to each and every one of you, advocating for each of these victims. God bless you. God bless America, and more importantly, God bless our victims.
An 84-year-old grandmother, a woman of faith, a mother of one of the most recognizable journalists in America, vanishes from her own bed in an upscale Arizona neighborhood. And a month later, with hundreds of investigators, DNA, video, detainments, and a cleared family, we are no closer to the truth than we were on day one. An empty house, a trail of blood by the front door, a missing doorbell camera, and a family that went from suspected to officially cleared in just over 2 weeks. This is the story of Nancy Guthrie, and this morning we're asking a hard question. Will we ever know what happened to her? Because if law enforcement, the FBI, 400 investigators working around the clock, surveillance video, detainments, DNA, and a 7-figure reward can't crack this, what does this say about justice for Nancy or her family? Let's go back to the beginning. Late on the night of January 31st, Nancy is dropped off at her home in the Catalina foothills after a family dinner. Her son-in-law, Tommaso Cioni, is the last person to see her alive. Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Bullhorn Betty, and we cover... Technical difficulties all over the place, so I decided just to kill it. I'm Bullhorn Betty. It's nice to see you. Sorry about the problems we were having with our opening. We've been having a lot of technical issues, and it's because I didn't update the system. I didn't realize there was a new update, and it's causing all types of side effects of that, but that's okay. We are going to get through this, and I'm thankful that at least my camera is working again. My camera wasn't working, my audio wasn't working, and I had no time to literally update the system after I clicked live. And that's when I realized we had it a wrong. The system needs to be updated. I digress. Anyways, it's nice to see you. We have a lot to go over. As you guys know, we have been covering the case of Nancy Guthrie. She is the 84-year-old grandmother that was ripped out of her bed in the middle of the night by a masked gunman, and she has not been seen or heard from since February 1st, around 2:28 in the morning. And that is the reality of the situation that we are dealing with when it comes to Miss Nancy Guthrie. Where is Nancy Guthrie? The media has left. We're hearing some people are still, going out there and covering it. And I won't say, seems like some people are upset about it. Some people are okay with it. I don't have an opinion, guys. Remember, this case is going to die down without attention. That's all there is to it. So if you're on Team Nancy, then you can't be on Team Silent. Okay. So that's kind of how I look at it. I know that maybe some of the creators you don't really care for, or whatever the case may be. That is never anything to do with the decisions on, is this case losing steam, and could that benefit it in generating some more viewership and stuff like that? And the answer is yes. So I just want to keep it there. I don't have a whole lot of time or intro to go into on this show this morning, because the majority of our commentary is going to be related to the Ashley Banfield and the Brian Enton's producer being out there. I thought it was a great behind the scenes understanding of what may have happened out there and what was going on behind the scenes, and why we were receiving some of the reporting that we were receiving out there in Pima County from the media. It was a lot more contentious than many people may think it was, with the way Chris Nanos was handling this case. We had an earlier show today. Maybe some of you guys saw it. Maybe you have not seen it. I do recommend you going back and watching our earlier show this morning. It kind of breaks down some of the problems we were finding out with Chris Nanos, and the recall that's underway right now to oust him out of his seat is directly at the direct result of this case. So now that we have the majority of the media gone, Mike Ruiz is gone, Brian Enton is gone, JLR is gone. We have some smaller to medium-sized YouTubers, Facebookers, and other social media content creators that are out there. I heard that another content creator is about to head back out there again, and stuff like that. So I understand the interest. I understand in keeping this front and center, but at the end of the day, you guys know my stance on this. If the media dies, this case dies. If this case is nowhere further along, it's going to stale right where it is and right where we leave it. Social media picks up the balls when mainstream media leaves them behind. Okay. And this is a case that we're not getting a whole lot of assistance from the family. The sheriff hates us. The neighborhood doesn't want us. It's like everybody's saying, just tap out and leave this case alone and let this poor grandmother just die in vain, and us never just say, oh well, we hope maybe, and I can't believe that nobody was able to solve it. Well, the people that are out there that are running all these resources away, you're the reason. Neighbors, you're the reason. The people that were rude to the people out there trying to fight for this woman, you're the reason. When this case goes cold, just remember, you are the reason. There's nobody to blame but yourself. So we're here, we're fighting for this lady, and it's sad that nobody else is. And then when we look at Chris Nanos, we find that, he wasn't very good, and he didn't treat people very well either. He was a very nasty individual and still is. He has this soft-spoken persona about him, and I'm hearing that is a lie. That is not who Mr. Nanos is. So I really do support, as you guys know, this morning's live. I support this recall measure. I hope this recall measure is successful. I wish we had this recall method all around this country. Boy, it would be so much easier. So anyways, guys, we had a few technical issues, including having the chat up when I was going through, you guys. So I'm just going to stop for a few moments and just say hi to the people that I can say hi to before we get started on the Ashley Banfield commentary. Me and you, it's nice to see you. Let them 66, Veronica B. Truly, Alisa B. Always, Little Orange Man, it's nice to see you, love. I hope you're doing well. Melly, Mike, Danielle, it's nice to see you and have you here. Phil, good morning. Who else do we have? Stacks, good morning. Rebecca, Rose, Downey, hello, Mama, it's nice to see you. JM, Robert, good morning. It's still morning. I can't believe we're on our second show and it's still just morning. Kathleen, it's nice to see you. Candace, good morning. It's nice to see you as well. Deanna, the real me too. Missy Motormouth. Mouth, I saw that. That my commentary. I know you don't, but if he can keep this case, I mean, the case is dying. I mean, it really is. Miss Nancy is literally one, and trust me, there's breaking news cases. We're going to have another missing child or another case that defies logic, and it's going to steal all of our attention. And once it's gone for forever. You never acquire that attention back. There's already a tension that was really strong at the beginning of this case that has already, cut in half. And then after JLR left, that was even quartered from there. And now you've got a few people trying to go back and invigorate this case because they think it's going to go somewhere, folks. I mean, we played this song and dance a long time. When we're 40 days out, the chances of us actually finding the person without DNA, like we don't even have DNA. Like even in Brian Koberger, we had DNA. We had a car. We had something to go on. We've got nothing here. This sheriff fucked this case up, and that's just the reality of it. As vulgar as that word is, that's what he did. So I'm not here to walk on eggshells. I mean, this case is, in my estimation, we're in a very tough spot. And anybody wasting their time and money and energy to go back out there to cover this from the media perspective, you're wasting your time and money. It's dying out. People are already Nancy fatigued. The ones that weren't, angry at, Savannah's family getting all these resources. You got the other ones that are just, they're just fatigued. This case it was running on mainstream media and social media nonstop since its inception. It hasn't stopped running. We've all been circulating this stuff. Usually we have just, social media that runs nonstop. Now we had social media and mainstream media running nonstop. It was fatigued. People got fatigued from this case. And the ones that aren't fatigued from this case are, starting to get nasty because one, again, they're not seeing the family really helping. They're not seeing the sheriff really looking. They're not seeing any good news. The labs, every time we turn around, the labs have some terrible news to tell us. I mean, we've seen this song and dance before. We know that this case is on its way to a cold case. No matter how you look at it, especially if it's some third party that doesn't even know her that carried this out, you have no tentacles to this lady or this family. That becomes a needle in a haystack of needles. And I know somebody has used that word once before when referring to this very specific case. And because of Chris Nanos' failed leadership, this case has felt like it's bipolar. Like we're on this up and down roller coaster when we should have a sheriff that is confident in the information that he is reporting. And we do not have a sheriff that is confident in the information he's reporting. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing or what the hell he's talking about. And of course, we come down to the abysmal forensic testing of that house. We pray to God that the FBI went in there and did a better job, but there's no guarantees. We're praying that, that they brought in the equipment, not just the measure tape for that front door. They put that, tent up at the front door so we couldn't see what they were doing. And I'm praying to God they reprocessed that entire scene. That's just a hope and a belief, but there's no guarantees for that either. You know, they knew that that guy stood there. I mean, I pray to God that they went out there and did that. But who knows? Who knows? But if he does go out there, you know, if Dolly can go out there and, you know, bring some. Listen, at the end of the day, when we're in a Hail Mary position, I don't care who brings the Hail Mary. I promise you, I don't. I just want to keep a case alive that deserves another bite at the apple because this lady has been so prejudiced by the people that should have had her back. And you know, I don't want to attack Savannah or her family. You know, I feel really bad for them, but damn it, where's their fight? I'm sorry that, you know, I understand this isn't emotional, but this is emotional for everybody that deals with a child or a parent disappearing or homicide. This is not the first time anybody in America has had a homicide and had to deal with their emotions and feelings. But this family has more resources than half of the families we deal with, and just to see so much silence and just nothing from them, we always take our cues from the family. You know, if the family's got the fight, unless they're the ones that we think are the suspects, which, you know, I do realize that we're kind of mixed. We're a mixed bag with this Tommaso situation, and I'm not going to dismiss that. We are a mixed bag when it comes to Tommaso. But for the most part, nobody believes Savannah did it. Like, I haven't heard any professional believe that Savannah, even the ones that talked about her son, her brother-in-law, hasn't talked about her in the perspective of her being responsible for this, or her trying to hurt her mother, or her trying to do anything. That's never came up. It's just been just the opposite. Everybody is pretty much convinced that Savannah Guthrie had nothing to do with this. And she's the one that has the biggest platform, and she's the one going into silence as if she's given up on her own mother. And where does that leave us? Because in that silence, now we don't believe she gave up on her mother, so don't misunderstand. I'm talking about perspectives, okay? Not that this is my opinion or anything else. I've read a lot of stuff online. I kind of have an understanding of where everybody's coming from, and I don't disagree with some of those feelings and emotions about it either. You know, and I even conveyed that because it seemed to me like even Nancy Grace was getting a little, you know, rude to people that dare question. And I think that that's so inappropriate because, let's face it, we have had the same exact issues come up in the Sebastian Rogers case. And this is the reason why I brought up the Sebastian Rogers case with Nancy Guthrie or Nancy Grace is because she also found problem with the fact that the mom and the stepdad ran off and never helped search. So we know that because we had that interview with Chris and Katie Proudfoot and her demeanor when she was questioning them about those very specific facts. So for us to sit there and for her to kind of chastise or condemn her audience or imply that in any way, I thought was wrong, and I felt needed to be brought up, you know, to the fact that, you know, the world is just concerned that, you know, it doesn't appear that they're helping. It doesn't, I mean, $1 million is one thing, but that's just money. Like, you know, there's still stuff we expect families to do when law enforcement has changed courses, you know? And it's stuff that we expect every single family to do. It's not like, oh, we just expect Savannah Guthrie's family to do because they're prominent and they have more money and stuff like that. No, we're even keel over here. Okay, we're equal opportunity over here. Okay, we don't care where you come from, your financial, your background, or anything like that. We just expect you not to vote for the assholes that put your family or you in this position. You know, if it comes down to like the Kata Scott, where it directly was the policies of that district attorney that got their child killed, and you're standing next to the district attorney to support him for his next candidacy, that is insanity to me. Okay, that is just bona fide insanity to me. I will never get behind that, okay? So I'm just going to say that. But other than stuff like that, you know, we don't care. We don't care. And that was a special thing with Kata Scott because this truly was a direct result of that DA, that specific DA Krasner. He opted, even though he had a case to go forward with, But he wanted to punish the witness that made their job a little bit harder because she was terrified of this animal, and rightly so, because he ended up killing the next girl. And she did not show up. So what did he do? He dropped the case, even though he had a slam dunk case in his hand. He dropped the case to punish the victim. To punish the victim. And you know what that dude ended up doing? Going off and killing Kata Scott. That was a direct result of that DA's decision. And he let that animal out. And he had other charges besides this with this other girl. And Kata Scott lost her life because of his specific decision. And the family was well aware of it and stood right next to that animal to support him for his next election. It was literally his decision that snuffed their child out of this world. Like, I will never, ever get behind that stupidity. Ever. Okay? So if that offends somebody, be offended. Because I can tell you I was never more disgusted or offended personally myself. And nobody gave a damn about how offended I was by that. So I don't care if people get offended by my advocacy, but there is no way I will cover that case. I will not cover Keon King. I will not cover Kata Scott. I have washed my hands of that. I will not do that. That is the only case I have ever done that to. But that literally turned my stomach. That literally turned my stomach. I couldn't. Like this poor girl. She didn't even live like 5 seconds in being in a car with him before he shot her. A direct result of that DA. No. So anyways, we're getting here. Now, if you don't know these ladies, I know you know one of them. I know you probably don't know the other one, okay? And so this is Ashley Banfield, and the lady next to it, I can't remember her name. We're going to hear her name. She is Brian Enton's producer. So if you guys don't know what producers do, they're kind of the ones behind the scenes that you don't really see, that kind of direct how everything goes. They're the ones on the phone trying to get those interviews for Brian Enton. She's the one that's calling and get, pooling public records and finding retired law enforcement, reaching out to retired law enforcement, seeing if they'd be willing to speak with Brian Enton. She's the voice you hear behind that phone when he is trying to, get an interview and what have you. She's very, very seasoned. She's been doing this a very, very long time. And so her enlightenment and perspective, because she deals with politicians, she deals with sheriffs. They've been doing true crime for a really long time. So this is going to be very, very interesting. And in her perspective of how everything was being handled behind the scenes is pretty telling, to say the least. So I'm going to turn this over. We're going to be listening to some of the stuff, then we're going to discuss it. Then we're going to listen to some of the stuff, and then we're going to discuss it. Okay, so that's going to be kind of the format for the rest of the show. I hope you guys stick around. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the Bullhorn Betty channel, or at least giving me a thumbs up. Those thumbs up really do help with this. We try to achieve 1,000 thumbs up per show. We do fall short of that, but maybe today will be the day that you help us reach that 1,000 thumbs up. So please consider hitting that thumbs up. If you are on the replay crew, please consider hitting that hype button. I appreciate you. Now let's go ahead and get started. Let's see what she has to say.
No,
Let's just go back a few seconds.
The crimes.
I want to hear
the sheriff said something about maybe he had acted precipitously, which was
okay. Here it is. Sorry, I didn't go. I went too far.
Taking your data off the
because I was trying to avoid
all
this.
of the biggest unanswered questions and mysteries in the Nancy Guthrie case. So, Allison, the first biggest question I have so far is
Allison's her name. Allison's her name. Yeah, YouTubers are making money off merch worth Nancy's name and stuff like that. Listen, this is going to upset some people, and I know it's going to upset some people. I'm a capitalist. So it's not one of those things. I'm not putting people's faces on shirts. We sell our own line of merch, and a lot of other content creators do, but sometimes you got to raise money the way you raise money. And we did an event for Summer Wells, and this lady donated. She had no choice. She made these shirts for Summer Wells for the event so everybody would wear them, and they came from Custom Ink. And I don't know if you know about Custom Ink shirts, but they're very, very expensive, and she had color on the front and back, and she only wanted just the cost of the shirt so everybody could match, if everybody wanted a shirt and stuff like that. She got crucified for that. She ended up eating that entire order of $500. She ended up handing out the shirts because she felt so bad that she even wanted just to get cost. Listen, I'm not down like that. I'm not down like that at all. In this world where because we have to compete with CNN, Fox News, and stuff like that. And people have to get creative on how to fund those things. And I understand that might be offensive to some, but for people that need to fund, and they're doing it from a positive. I mean, if they had her face on something and saying some disrespectful slogan, I can understand. But if it's the support, if it's to bring awareness and stuff like that, you shouldn't expect a small channel to saddle the cost of those shirts and to distribute them. If people want to buy a shirt to support and put her face on it. I mean, some of the best advertisement you can have is having somebody's face on a shirt. But to be honest with you, you don't see movies, TV stations doing this. The only people that do stuff like that for awareness are smaller channels. So in an order, like you have choices. We have no more milk cartons. So if we're going to bring advocacy, it's either flyers or it's shirts, and other ways to put somebody's face on an item so people can, advertise it. But we can't afford the cost of that stuff. We have to, get either cost or something, for that. So it might be a way to generate money to go out to the scene. You never know what what that creator is trying to accomplish, but I don't ever want to just look at a lens that everybody's up to no good on here, because that is a horrible lens to look at people in. Gracious. I think my delivery just got here. I can't stand when she starts popping off like that. She learned that from Laura's. I can't stand it. But you never know what it is. And I just don't want to think that of everybody that's on here is just up to, to be honest with you, this stuff costs money. Okay. You guys just watched me drop. And if it wasn't for Baby Love, you guys just watched $1,200 be dropped just on equipment here in this office. That's real hard money. Where do you think that money comes from? So I just want you to I just want you to look at things in a different lens. I know it's so easy to say, I can't believe they're doing this, but I can. This stuff is expensive. Getting out to these places are expensive. And if they're thriving to get out from behind a computer, they've got to find creative ways to raise that money. So you guys should be more supportive. And let's face it, somebody's face on a shirt that they can wear out garners 250 people's heads turning to see that person. It is a great way for people to be noticed. If we could afford, I'm telling you, if I had a budget, if I had a silo of money that I could just pay for shirts and hand them away for free, I promise you folks, I would. I absolutely would. I would in a heartbeat. And I'm sure there's a thousand other content creators right behind me that would do the same thing, but that's just not the reality of it. And just having shirts out there with our logo on it, how is that really moving the needle to find these people, really? I mean, if you really want to think about it, so just a different mindset. It's just a different perspective, and hopefully it's one that you guys understand and can appreciate. Some people won't, but I think we had a lot of hate channels out here really manipulating people's way of thinking when it comes to this stuff, because you've got to find creative ways to fund the activism, and you got to find a way, creative ways to get these photos and these people's faces out there and out there further. So, where's the happy balance, So just a little perspective. I didn't want to get off a case, but I love people, saying stuff where I can kind of explain it. I appreciate you saying that. And I understand where your position is. I've heard that position as well, but I just wanted you guys to maybe look at it from a different position. So that's my position. Anyways, let's get back to this. This is about this is Allison. Allison is Brian Enton's producer. She's a very seasoned producer. She seems very knowledgeable. And the information she's giving us behind the scenes is very enlightening. And I think it really does drive why so many people are very upset with Christopher, the sheriff, Christopher Nanos, out there in Pima County.
Is why they released the crime scene so early.
Big mistake. I mean, I think that even the sheriff said something about maybe he had acted precipitously, which was probably not the word he used, but he had acted, the crime scene was released before the FBI had a chance to do the DNA. I mean, from what I understand, I mean, there was, he did his thing. I kind of think that the sheriff thought that this would be over in 24 hours. I think he thought it was like an abduction nearby, that we didn't need to scrape the walls for DNA, or we do all the things that the FBI might do, or even that his own techs might do. Because it seems to me for just that amount of time, they couldn't possibly have gotten everything that they needed to get.
We know for a fact they did a piss poor job forensically. Okay. I don't even, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They did a piss poor job forensically. I don't know if it was intentional or if it was incompetence. If it was intentional, it's because they didn't really believe that this lady was in as much peril as she was. And that's a damn shame. And this is exactly why I say law enforcement should not be the decision makers of what evidence is and what it is not. That is for the lab. Just to put that in perspective.
And then the crime scene tape goes up again when the FBI arrives, and they start doing all kinds of other things. And I don't know if the sheriff was aware of the advances in technology and what can be done or what can't be done. Because even when you hear him talk about, DNA and splitting DNA, he doesn't sound like the people that do it.
Yeah, and it's a big question for me.
I just want to put this in perspective, Mike. If that were the case, we would never hear anything about these cases. We'd go back to the old way of newsmaking. You'd get your 5 minutes in the morning and at night. That would be all you get for your news content on crimes. Okay. At the end of the day, YouTubers and social media has changed the game in these cases. And quite frankly, it was the pioneers that kicked the front door in, bringing people to the front of these scenes. You got to remember, nobody did that until we did that. And when we started going out there and doing that, everybody was up in arms. Like, how dare us? How dare us go out to the scene of the crimes? How dare us? And now everybody's like, this is something that we've been working on, I think, since before we knew that this was the calling that we wanted, the pioneering of social media being news organizations. At the end of the day, we did take this. We were a little, hungry, to say the least, at the beginning, right? We did some pretty reckless and epic stuff at the beginning of our career, but we had to make our mark if it was going to be impressionable, and look at, guys, think about where we were from Summer Wells, where people were just beating us up for going out there and doing journalistic shoe leather stuff, and look at where we are, even 5 years later. There was once upon a time we were the only people on the scenes. Now look at it. We have created something massively epic in social media, and it only took a few people stepping up and doing it, and then everybody looked at it and said, I can do that. Yes, you can. And you know what? That's how we start telling mainstream media we're sick of the propaganda and we're sick of the lies. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. At the end of the day, this is what our vision was. This is what our vision was. This is what's going out there. This is out there now. Look at all these people. Hell, Dolly was scared to even get on a plane when I met him. Okay, now he's globetrotting. Okay, all over this country, you know? So it takes a few people to stand up and inspire others, and bada bing, bada boom. Next thing you know, you got real competition out there, and you've got real people out there working their ass off to bring us real bona fide news, round the clock news of information and cases that we're not going to get this kind of coverage from anywhere else except for social media. That's what social media does. Do you think that News Nation, in all fairness, love News Nation, you guys know how I feel about Brian Enton. This is his producer right here, Allison. And do you think they would be running the cameras all day on a live feed for you guys? No. No. That's what you get from your content creators. That's what you get from the people out there. Do you think it's easy to sit out there all day, every day for 12 hours and try to find ways to keep you engaged? It takes talent. So just to put that into perspective, since this was a little different of our conversation than I expected this show to be, but I digress. So let's just get back. We're trying to get back to Nanos instead of the YouTubers. Okay. Nanos is the problem. YouTubers are not. I just want to remind everybody that.
Because I just wonder
Thank you,
was
Mariska.
It that they
I appreciate
saw
you.
And did that made them feel so confident that we got everything we need here. Because my source said blood drops inside match the blood drops outside, back door wide open, cameras plural smashed. And so I just feel like that doesn't sound like something you think you're going to solve real fast.
It's strange, too, because he actually said in his first press conference that he thought it was a kidnapping, which I have never heard law enforcement say. She was taken by force, all those kinds of things. You don't usually hear law enforcement give you the theory of the crime in the first 24 hours. I mean, they don't.
And I want to remind you guys, if you guys were not here for this morning's show, we found out that Chris Nanos almost killed somebody while in uniform, working for El Paso Police Department. He almost killed somebody. He should have never been sheriff. He should have never been sheriff. His past, his history is deplorable, is absolutely deplorable. It sounds like he did the worst of the worst of the worst in El Paso. And then it's like he just came over to Tucson and they just scrubbed his history and act like it didn't exist. And he started out in the jail, the corrections, and worked his way up into sheriff. This monstrosity of an individual. Oh, he's been a problem for over 30 years, folks. Chris Nanos is not the man you think he is. If you have not watched our first show, go back to this morning's show. You're going to want to watch it. I'm telling you, it's very eye-opening, especially toward the end of the show.
They don't know who did it. They don't know what the point is. Yes, she was bleeding. My feeling always was that somebody got in there, something bad happened inside, that they roughed her up.
That's what I thought. But she thinks they roughed her up.
I mean, and whether they took her alive or dead is a whole other question, which is a big unanswered question. Why do you think they stopped the search? Also, on day 2 in his news conference on February 2nd,
this is Sumner County 2.0, except on steroids. Like, this is so bad. Like, this is so bad.
He said, we're drawing back. We've had a busy night, we've thrown everything at this. We've had a busy night, but we're scaling that all back, and this is now more of a crime scene.
No search in the desert.
Okay, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. Why do you think they stopped the search?
No search in the desert. No search. No cadaver dogs. No fingerprints. Latent print. Dust at the front door. Brackets still there, rugs still there, foliage still there. The place looked like it was half-assed. Like it was a half-ass forensic. I mean, I guess we need to quit beating the dead horse. You guys get it. It's
well,
frustrating.
I don't know. I can't get inside the sheriff's head. But I do believe that it's a very difficult area to search, and they probably needed to have like special dogs. I actually was talking to somebody who works with, searching with dogs and, trying to find people. And in that particular area, there's so many cacti, there's so many things that can stab you. I mean, I would sit down and go, ow, like wherever you were. I mean, it's a very dry, and not like Palm Springs or other deserts that people, or I don't know, the Sahara, like that's all smooth and everything.
Right.
It's just
Very
filled.
rough.
So, yeah, so apparently you have to pick the dogs up to get them over certain patches, or they get thorns in like their paws.
Why haven't they invested in training their dogs with shoes? Like, there's boots for dogs. There's equipment for dogs so they don't get injured like this.
I had a whole conversation with someone about it. Maybe he didn't have the proper supplies, or we could go with the obvious answer, which is bad move. I don't understand.
Bad move. Let's poll. We've got 640 people in chat. Let's poll. Do you think? How are we going to say this? How am I going to express this in words? This can be interesting. The decisions the sheriff made, the decisions the sheriff has made, for example, shutting the search down day 2, failing to properly forensically test that entryway, failing to maintain the crime scene as long as needed, failing to get the lights out there to do the proper search, failing to get the airplane, the most sophisticated piece of equipment up within that first 3 hours, having nonstop issues within his department. Like, how much of these problems are incompetence versus intentional? One, you believe that they are incompetence. Sheriff is just incompetent, Barney Fife, hunky bunky, sheriff BS, or this is intentional, but not intentional to tank the case, intentional because he thought he knew better at the time, just to find out he was wrong. Intentional. 1, incompetence. 2, intentional. I want to hear from you, the audience. Let's find out how you guys feel about this. So a lot of people are already coming with the incompetence. You guys believe he's just hunky bunk, just completely off the reservation, bad moves all over. How many bad moves in the first 48? Oh, good God, Faye. I think there's more than I have fingers for. People claim animal cruelty. So some people are, so we have the majority of incompetence, but some are saying, no, he's doing this intentionally. He can't, 2, but he can't be that dumb. He can't, or 2, because he can't be that dumb. Oh my gosh. Sometimes I feel like they don't believe this is the case. Like they don't believe that this is really a homicide. Like they're like with Sebastian Rogers, I feel like they were like this, that they just could not believe that these people that live in this fancy house that they've known forever and ever could harm their child. They just couldn't believe it until it became a reality where they now have to contemplate it, and they screwed the whole entire case up because they refused to acknowledge it back when they needed to acknowledge that it was a path forward. And they failed to do all of the work necessary. And now they're shut down because now that it's obvious that the parents may have something to do with it, now they have to go through all probable cause and all of this court crap to get evidence because of their incompetence. But I think it was incompetence. But some people think it's a cover up. Faye thinks it's intentionally cover it up. But could it be intentional to cover up the incompetence? I mean, we could play the word salad game. I'm fluent in word salad. I'm fluent in orange salad. I agree he's covering for someone. It seems like it. I mean, there is, it does have I don't personally believe he is. That's just me personally, but I see the appearance. I do see the appearance. I see how people can get that, make that leap into, I think that he, like Sebastian Rogers' case, the sheriff knows more than what he's saying. I agree with that, but the sheriff, in my opinion, in Sebastian Rogers' case, to go 2 years without giving a press conference, that's just telling the whole world to go fuck off. Okay, there's no excuse for that outside of just pure unprofessionalism and just being a nasty son of a bitch. And that's Eric Craddock. So his little sweet face, he's a demon inside. I truly believe that man is a demon. And he does not need to be running the sheriff's office. He does not need to be running the sheriff's. Don't ever forget, demons do come in sheep clothing. Just remember that. Okay, just remember that. We're dealing with frickin' Pima County Sheriff. He looks pretty docile. And then until you start hearing some of the stuff he does, we're hearing that he was being potentially soft-spoken at the thing. We're hearing he is not like that. He's a screamer. He likes slamming his fist down on the table and screaming at people. He's an asshole. That's who Chris Nanos is.
I mean, I've never heard, well, the terrain's too hard, so we're shutting her down. I mean, they searched the Andes for a sports team. I mean,
exactly.
Talk about harsh terrain. Well, yeah, I'm with you on that one, being just an unanswered question. I don't know if we'll ever really understand why. Why also do you suppose that we were told again on day 2, February 2nd, the news conference that Sheriff Nanos held, there's no cause for concern. There's nothing to worry about out there. There's no danger to the community.
I mean, I just keep going back to what the sheriff said. He would say things and then he would walk them back. He would say that, it's, we've done all of this, and then he would walk it back. The kidnapping thing we never heard about after he first said the kidnapping thing. After he decided what the cause of the crime was, we didn't.
You know why he never said it after saying it again is because that was the key for the FBI to take that case from him. And so when he was about to have that case taken from him, I think the reason why he walked that back is because if he kept that thought process, the case would have went right to the FBI. The FBI would have been able to, and I think that was the fight. Remember, we heard about them fighting over jurisdiction of this case behind the scenes, and I think it was related to that. You never heard him say it again.
Hear about it again. So I think that he was out of his depth in terms of how to deal.
He used kidnapping with me. I did an interview with him on that Monday, February 2nd. He said it's a kidnapping, yeah. But I just think, he said...
I mean, have you seen that? Have you seen, a law enforcement person come out unless they have received a ransom letter? We have received a ransom letter. It is
or seen it on video.
Yeah.
Seen an abduction on video.
Right. But why are you saying it's a kidnapping? Because she was taken by force, or maybe somebody took her by force to kill her. I mean, God forbid, but I mean, it's just, there's other reasons.
Yeah, it sounds to me like he thought she was taken alive, because that is a kidnapping, as opposed to she's been killed and the body's been removed, which how would he know? And so that's why when he says things like, I've known since day one, he said, we believe we know why he was here. This is just last week.
This is interesting. And I agree with the way Ashley Banfield is propping this question up, because it's accurate. It's accurate. She's accurate here. Let's just go back 5 seconds. Let's listen to this.
He said, we believe we know why he was here. This is just last week. We believe we know why he was here and have known since day one. What?
Remember when I told you we were going back? Remember when I kept trying to go back to those original, and I can't find the damn interview. But remember when we were there and we went through all of this? Sorry, Ashley, I have a way of stopping my film, don't I? Good gracious. But when I heard that he was coming out and he said that he had made some comments, I actually thought that those were older comments And then I realized, oh my gosh, he made these just recently to BBC, but it sparked my mind from him having that interview. And we were trying to find that interview. We didn't find the interview, but he said something. And one of the journalists out there, he goes, we don't know why he did this. Only he knows why he did this. And she goes, so it's a he. And he's like, you remember that? And so I was trying to find that interview, and now hearing this, him go back to the beginning, who were those first original people he was looking at the beginning? You know, I only know of three. I'm just saying. I'm not saying any. I'm just saying I only know of three.
I know.
What? Because on day 2, you said there's no cause for concern. There's no threat to the public. Again, those are my words, but paraphrasing. So,
well, he said
this
it
is just
again recently.
Yeah, I mean, he's saying there's a boogeyman now and says he's known since day 1 that there's a threat to the community. He's known. We believe.
And I told you guys this. This is what's really getting under my skin with a lot of law enforcement. Oh, and I just, it looks like I'm having some, why is it doing that? It drives me nuts. Okay, so we talked about that at length with this whole statement, and this is something that sheriffs across this country do, and I think we need to start holding them legally accountable, because they keep putting our lives in jeopardy to keep the public from freaking out. Now, I'm sorry, I don't get down like that. I don't get down like that. But it's not just him, Mariska. It's not just him. Because in all fairness, I see it happening from all law enforcement all over the place. Whenever there's something like, for example, in Oregon, they were screaming they thought they had a serial killer. And law enforcement was condemning the people that were raising this concern. And guess what? Come to find out, they had a serial killer. So how is the public more in tune than our law enforcement partners? And we pay our law enforcement partners a lot of money to have equipment, to have, information before we have information, right? We give them the ability to listen in, spy, all this stuff. So how are we learning that this is serial killers and we can put the pieces together, but the law enforcement partners that we're paying a shit ton of money to, that likes to condemn us, can't figure it out? That is my most concerning statement. And we have to ask that, because let's face it, there has been a lot of times that citizens have raised the alarms before law enforcement have. And it should have been just the opposite. And you know what? Every time we do start getting concerned, they always want to calm us down. People are losing their life and communities are in danger while law enforcement are saying, there's no danger to you. Please live your life normally until you're right? And it's like, well, it looked like you struck again. Sorry, community. Don't worry. You are all safe. We're tired of it. We want the truth and the whole truth. And we're sick and tired of our law enforcement telling us what we have a right to know and what we don't have a right to know.
If we know why he was here and have known since day 1, well, on day 2, you said there's no cause for concern. So which one is it? That there's a boogeyman out there and you've known since day 1? Because on day 2, you said there was no threat.
I have to say, I think when you look at the sheriff, again, I'm going to have to say he was out of his depth. He was busy being territorial. Yes. He wasn't giving things to the FBI. They have superior resources to local law enforcement.
Think about that. Who does it benefit when you're backed against? I want you to think about this. We're trying to find a little old lady with a frail heart that could die at any moment. I want you guys to paint this in your head. We have a frail little old lady. We don't know what happened to her, and there's blood all over the house, inside and out. And we're racing against the clock to find this lady. and you got a piece of shit man like Chris Nanos that almost killed somebody while wearing the badge, running this department, and he's allowing his territorial nature. He's allowing his territorial nature to get a woman killed. And that is the reality of this. Again, I believe she was dead or dying on the way out. But again, that is only about maybe 50% of my audience that agrees with that statement. So if you're not one of those people that agree with that statement, she was dying or dead on her way out of the house, and you believe she was alive, then you have to believe because of Chris Nanos' delays, he got her killed. He didn't kidnap her. He didn't remove her from the house. He didn't go in the house to hurt her, but his policies and his policing contributed to all of it, including the initial crime. So remember that. Guys, please remember, we do have rules in this chat. You cannot be rude to me or the people in the chat. If I choose to be rude, this is my channel. I'll do whatever the hell I damn well please on my own channel, but you will not. You will respect my rules while you're in my house. If you refuse to respect my rules when you are in my house, we will get you out of my house. It's a very simple process. Respect me, respect the people in chat. We expect people to debate the issues, not the people. If you do not have anything productive to say and you're just here to create nastiness, that says more about you than it does about the people on this channel. Just saying. Take that into consideration.
They have a different budget than local law enforcement. He's sneaking gloves to his old lab that's going to take a year when Quantico could do it in a much faster way, or
much faster
some private
way
lab that they could pay. My feeling is that when
the bottom line is it would have been faster. That's all there is to it. And when you are racing against the clock to save someone's life, speed matters. Data matters. That's the problem. His delay took an additional 48 hours. 48 hours. 48 hours. This lady had no medication. We were racing against the clock. And he added 48 hours to a clock we didn't even have 1 minute left on.
There is a DNA situation, we usually get a pretty fast answer. I mean, if they want to tell us.
That Florida lab is no joke. They are great. They have solved cold cases, and they've done remarkable work. I'm also wound up about that lab being used. I am wound up about.
I am very wound up about that lab being used. It has nothing to do with whether they could have processed it or not. That had nothing to do with it. I'm absolutely confident that lab in Florida is amazing. We have amazing labs here, period. We have world-renowned labs here in the state of Florida. It had nothing to do with it. It only comes down to who was able to process the information quickly and get it into the system quickly. And that would have been the FBI in Quantico. Period. It had nothing to do with who could do the job. We knew they both could do the job perfectly if needed. It had nothing to do that. It was all about expedience. Who was the most expedient? And it would have been Quantico. That's why everybody's up in arms.
A sheriff who calls off a search, says there's no concern for the community, wraps up a crime scene in 24 to 36 hours.
Too soon.
But at the same time is towing under a warrant the daughter's car and then searching the daughter's house and asking the daughter's neighbors for their video and collecting. And my source said,
I am so sick. She is so adamant about her fucking source that I don't believe she has one at this point. I believe she did calculated risks on her assessment. If you want my truth, and I'm going to say that at this point because she's just driving me nuts because she's got to try to bring in Annie's car again. Why did Annie's car take so long to process? Because they took parts out of the freaking car and sent it off somewhere. They had no drivable car. They had to wait for the part to come back and get it back installed and get the car up and running to give it back. That's the true reality of what happened here. That's what took so long. But she's just adamant about this whole Tommaso and her source to prove she actually had a source that I'm convinced she never had a source to begin with. I just want to put that out on the table because that's just how I feel. Sorry, not sorry.
The sheriff and his folks were zeroed in on the family members, on Annie and Tommaso. And I feel as though the reason he was saying there's no threat to the community on day one is because that's what he believed. And my source is airtight. What they were doing and what they were looking at was 100% Tommaso.
And I can tell you, her source is not airtight. And the reason why her source is not airtight is because they may be an ex-FBI source, but they are not a direct FBI source with knowledge of this case. They had somebody, and I don't believe this. I think this was I think somebody gave her a tidbit of information and she doubled down on with some calculated risk stuff here. Because to be honest with you, the whole thing with Tommaso and Annie being suspects, that was known. We talked about that at the beginning. I even said, don't be surprised if this stuff happens. And then she comes out a day later, oh, Tommaso is the prime suspect. And it's like, everything I said and tried to prepare my audience for went out the window. It was like out the window because we knew that they were going to be persons of interest in the proximity of the victim they were until the other person. As soon as we saw that masked gunman in that video, I knew for a fact it wasn't Tommaso and this was out of water. She did get the Nest cameras right. She does have somebody feeding her some type of information, so I'm not dismissing that. But this whole thing that Tommaso, somebody made a calculated risk, but it wasn't somebody that was an FBI agent directly related to this case. It just wasn't. I know that for a fact. For a fact. This FBI source is not directly related to the case. Period.
Have they changed their minds and not told us they've changed their minds because now they believe there's a boogeyman? This is what is so disingenuous about this sheriff. He shat all over everybody who dared to suggest that the reporting that we got out of the department was wrong. It turns out by their own actions, it looks like that's what...
Let's talk about what wasn't right. First of all, the back door wasn't smashed in, okay? So she's wanting to point out everything she got right with her reliable source, her ultra reliable source. Well, that ultra reliable source got a shit ton wrong too. Such as the forced entry to the back door. There was no forced entry to the back door. Apparently the door was only left open. So if this person was really directly related, that was a pretty obvious known thing that should have not been twisted or misunderstood. So, again, I just want to point out that even Miss Banfield here is not being so truthful or forthcoming. And she's so adamant to try to prove she really had a source that I'm starting to believe she never had a source at all, or the source was so far detached from the case, she embellished the qualifications of the source's, truth of like how connected they are to the case. There are things as calculated risks. So we already know that, for example, calculation. In any investigation, anybody that is perceived to be the last known person to see that person alive is going to automatically run to the top of the list of possible suspects until they're cleared or they show a valid and legitimate alibi. Many people, believe it or not, can produce an alibi. In this day and age, alibis, clad iron alibis are obtainable even when you are alone. Okay? Even when you are alone. Why? Because it's not even only about your data. It's about other people's. For example, if you live in an apartment complex, there's only one way in and one way out, or maybe a front door and a back door. Well, most of those will have cameras at them. So cameras will see you coming or see you going. Even if the cameras missed you, when you open that door, the camera across the street is probably recording you walking out. So if you never walked out of your apartment and there's cameras on the inside and there's cameras on the outside, I'm not even worried about the pings peak, because to be honest with you, or is it pick? To be honest with you, because somebody that's planning this may leave anything that would ping at home. But one thing that they can't control are the cameras that other people possess. They can control their data, but they can't control other people's data. And that's what jams them up. So even if somebody was home alone, they might have a clad iron alibi. Why? Just like I said, there's two entrances to only two entrances, an emergency exit and entrance and a main entrance and exit to an apartment complex. There's cameras across the street. There's cameras in the lobby. There's cameras in the elevator. They see you go up. They see you go to your apartment. After that, they never see you again. Well, that's pretty airtight alibi that you probably went into your apartment and never came back out. So if you were the suspect of a homicide earlier that night, or the night before at 8:30, and they watched you walk into your apartment at 6:30 and never leave until the next morning when you have to head off to work, well, they can conclude that you most likely didn't physically commit the crime. So I just feel like in today's society, we can all have airtight alibis, even if we're alone, Just a little food for thought. Yet those things can be easily changed. For example, in Ashley Banfield's case, she can say, well, Tommaso is the prime suspect. Well, of course he's the prime suspect right now. Of course he's a person of interest. He was the last known to have been with her. That rises him right to the top of person of interest, the very first person of interest, as a matter of fact. He would be absolutely the very first person law enforcement looks at. Why? Because he was the last one to see her that they know of. As soon as this masked gunman, he was no longer the last person to see Nancy alive. That masked gunman was.
What they thought, and they may have screwed it up and lost valuable time.
Well, my feeling about that is I don't name a suspect before the police have named a suspect when I'm doing reporting.
She did not like that. Ashley Banfield did not like that because she's now a true crime content creator on YouTube. She is a YouTuber. It's a much different animal over here on YouTube than it is out there in, when you have a whole bunch of people. We try to identify, we try to build cases. We do this all through we don't build the cases for law enforcement. We build the case for the public. We have public court here, okay? We have the court of public opinion on social media, and it drives law enforcement nuts. But you know what? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether it drives law enforcement nuts. We have a right to do it, and we do it. And you know what it does? It produces perspectives. It gives new angles to look at, new avenues to search. And this is why there's a lot of people in social media that have helped solve cases. It is because of our unique perspective on this front. This was new, once upon a time, we were kind of, all news people were running to us and wanting to know why we do the stuff we do. We've had several of those news clips out when we first started, but when they realized that law enforcement doesn't like what we do, they tried to take our voice away because they realized we were coming after their jobs too. And so now you have this back and forth where, they used to do stories about us. Now they just try to condemn us because they're losing their jobs at rapid rates. And why are they losing their jobs at rapid rates? Well, the same reason why Ashley Banfield lost her job. The shenanigans. People are sick and tired of it. And, she's bringing this kind of, she's going to learn very, very quickly. The shenanigans you're able to do in mainstream media is not any type of shenanigans you're going to be able to do on these YouTube streets. They will decimate you. If she makes a mistake like this again, they will almost next to cancel her on these streets. I hope she understands. She better be very careful in doing these things. We have protocols here. We police ourselves, but I can tell you, if you give a lot of wrong information, people will start, no matter how good your name is, they will diss you. They will 86 you. They will run a bus over you. And that's not us. That's the audience. We hear what they say.
Because I do know that when somebody goes missing, the family are the first people they look at. Family, friends, everybody. So I wasn't surprised that they were looking at her car, or that they were the last people to drive her home. You know, all of those kinds
of weird
things.
In my business, it's weird. The victims, like even Ed Smart's car wasn't
she just doesn't want to acknowledge she was wrong. She wants to try to cover up, but I'm glad Allison, you know, was very, very clear, because Allison's a producer. If Brian Enton were to say something, they would be 100 before he opened his mouth with Allison. I can guarantee that.
His house wasn't photographed in terms of like in the depth of the night for 3 hours. Like weird stuff happened. And I think we can all look back on it now. And this is why I do this reporting, because law enforcement does lie to us. And I am a huge fan of law enforcement, and I know they have a hard job to do, but my boss is truth. And when we see stuff like this, I want to be able to hold them accountable, because in Moscow, Idaho, they lied to us. And
yeah, we do want truths. Like, you know, we would have loved to have heard Ashley Banfield say, yeah, from my source, I heard that he is a suspect in this case, a prime suspect in this case. But I want to remind my audience that he was the last person to be in contact with her. So by proximity, he would already be a person of interest that this would already do. So this is not really too surprising for me. You know, she could have toned it down a little bit. She chose not to. She chose to go viral for content, for clicks and views, and it's biting her in the butt, and she's really having to backtrack a lot. Let's not forget the stuff that was wrong. There were several things wrong. She got a lot right, but her source wasn't 100 now, was he? Or her? Just saying.
And Brian Koberger walked among us for 6 weeks, and I would have pulled my kids out of there and brought them home had I known there was that threat to the community. So the fact that he's saying there's nothing to worry about here, why? How would you possibly say that? Because as it turned out, he was wrong. He was wrong. He was focusing, according to my source, on entirely the wrong direction. And now that guy is out there, and we've lost valuable evidence to catch him.
Well, I have to agree with you with that. I think he's myopic.
Yeah.
I mean, he was myopic about what he was doing. I think he was chasing a bit of glory there, you know, like the press conferences with the quiet voice, because I had sources that say he doesn't have a quiet voice.
See, he doesn't have a quiet voice. And getting to you, CBJ, there's no way that she can sue. Not at all. There's several legal reasons why Savannah can't sue. One, Savannah was never accused of killing her mother or being responsible for this. Her brother-in-law was. So it would have to be the brother-in-law that brought the lawsuit, because he was the one that was prejudiced. He was the one that was wronged, allegedly. But at the end of the day, this is a high-profile case. So you have limited public people, okay? And so Savannah's already a public person, so there's a higher level bar, scrutinies-wise, that can go. Because Tommaso and Annie were brought into this case by the law enforcement, that opened them up to limited public people, because they were in a national interest case. And so the level, so basically, what's the difference? Let me just explain, why does that matter? Maybe people don't understand. When you're a private citizen versus a public person, there's different levels of law that protects you, say, from defamation. So if you're a public person, like a politician, like Ashley Banfield, millions of people know you, like J-Lo, Jay-Z, all them, you can basically, they have a higher threshold of defamation than a public person or private person. So you really have to exceed a massive line in the sand for a public person. You only have to be, for a private person. That's what gave me the ability to sue Queen Bee, is because even though you guys see me on here, I'm still a private person. I've never made it to the status or the threshold of a public person. So therefore, all those defamation laws for private citizens are what protected me. Okay. If I become, well known, if I have like millions of views and I, have sponsorships and I'm all over this, then that changes, then I become a public person. And when I meet that threshold or those elements and I become a public person and people defame me, that I have a higher defamation threshold in order to sue them. That means I can't just sue anybody. Because it's just how the law works. And I know it works that way because people kind of put themselves out there and they have to be expected to handle more scrutiny than a private citizen that isn't putting themselves out there. So that's why it matters whether you're a public person or a private citizen. All of you guys that are on here are private citizens. That means if somebody said that you murdered somebody and you're not pulled into a case, you're just this, like, for example, that teacher in the Idaho 4 where, yeah, it was a public interest case, but it doesn't mean everybody can be defamed because of that. I mean, this psychic lady that proclaimed she was a psychic picked out a teacher that had literally nothing to do with the case and started putting her name out on a public platform with no connection. This was a private citizen that she tried to force into a public spotlight. And with defamation, totally different elements. But that was true defamation of a private citizen, and it was presented that way. So you just have to understand the law and what that means, But I don't ever think that Ashley will be sued by Savannah. I don't think Savannah would ever have the elements to sue her on any level. And then if her brother wanted to, it was, her brother was the last one to see this mother alive. He was a person of interest. They did take the car and impound it and test it. They did search their house. In all fairness, that rose to the level of public scrutiny. And so those would be protected of public scrutiny laws. So again, there's just a lot here, and I just don't think they have a legal leg to stand on, even toward Ashley. Are they angry with her? I'm sure they are. But could they sue her? They could. Anybody can sue anybody, but would they be successful? The answer is no. They would not be successful.
I've heard the same, that he's very vindictive and nasty to a lot of people in the department.
Very vindictive. I want you guys to hear this again. Hold on.
There.
We started chatting too long. Let me go back 15 seconds.
There, like the press conferences with the quiet voice, because I had sources that say he doesn't have a quiet voice.
I've heard the same, that he's very vindictive and nasty to a lot of people in the department. And Brian Enton's done great work with you down there. You found those people who said, yeah, I had my difficulties with this guy. He's mean.
Yeah, even the deputy sheriff who had served for, 30 years, more probably, Rick Castigar, said that he just agreed to be his deputy to help him show him the ropes when he took over as sheriff. But his behavior, again, was not professional, and he quit. And this guy is like a real sheriff.
I just want to let you guys know because, we went through all of these earlier today, and this really does express Chris Nanos' work history, and it's not very good. I mean, the allegations of insubordination, excessive force, including shots fired, folks, off-duty gambling, tardiness, failure to report for duty, dereliction of duty, making threats, improper use of police sirens. At least 8 suspensions are in his file. He was suspended so many times he had to go without pay for 37 days. That is bad. Like, bad. And then we find out that, where is it? There is one right there where he kicked I'm going to have to muzzle this dog. I can't stand the barking in the middle of the show. So he had a 15-day suspension for kicking a robbery suspect in the head so hard he sent the guy to ICU. He almost killed a man. He deserves prison, not a promotion. I mean, I just want to put this into perspective for everybody that's out there. You know, not necessarily the best dude. Just saying. And I'm sorry, you don't change those types of stripes, in my opinion.
I mean, he's close to the vest. He knows how to formulate an answer so that it doesn't give too much away. I think it's really important, and it's frustrating to us as reporters, but it is very important in the beginning of an investigation not to tell too much. Let us just play out. Don't tell us like what you're doing.
It's why you have a PIO. It's why you send the PIO out to the microphone, because the PIO is only given what you give the PIO to tell, and everything else the PIO has to say, I'm sorry, I don't have an answer to that, or I can't answer that. Or, oh, my answer for that one is part of the investigation. I can't answer that. It's pretty simple. It's Crime 101. And listen, I've been doing it 38 years, so I've been to this rodeo a lot. And I could tell right away something was up with this guy. There was just something disingenuous about what he was saying and then what I was hearing from inside the department.
Well, I will tell you my own personal experience. We had an interview set up with him after the first press conference.
Listen to this.
Second press conference, sort of blending together a little bit. And the PIO, who's super nice, said, oh, he can't see you now. It was very haphazard.
When you go out of your way to set up these appointments, your time is just as valuable as the other person's. Now, granted, there are some things that do come up. And when they do come up, like there might be an emergency that came up, or he might have had to have an emergency press conference right when he had to meet with you. Those things are reasonably understandable. You never know, especially with a politician. They're there to serve. They're servants of the people. And so every now and again, there are situations that rise to the level of having to cancel an appointment to go take care of a major issue, or rescheduling that appointment to a later date to accommodate something that just came up. You never know. It could be a school shooting, a busted Maine. You don't realize it, you have just maybe no crime at all that's really causing problems to that body. It might be something like a major main busted and they have to have, redirect traffic and get officers out there to redirect people going different ways and stuff like that. It could just be a nightmare that they need to stop what they're doing and go focus. So there's a lot of things that could come up that you have to pause, but usually they come back with you or they reschedule with you. And when they don't, it just shows you how disrespectful they are in not honoring your time as well. And especially with like News Nation, you got to think, you got a producer out there, you got a cameraman out there, and you've got the reporter out there. You're talking about some really high dollar people that are out there on the scene for News Nation. News Nation's got to pay for this, right? And when they're going there for this and they have an appointment, they go about this the proper way, and they bring all those three very high paid people and make them just sit there and wait. That's just burning News Nation's money for no reason, just disrespectfully. And I just want to remind any politician out there, it is time for you to understand you need mainstream media, you need social media. I would really caution you about being disrespectful to either. Constructive criticism is fine, but I've seen straight nasty from some of these politicians, and I can promise you there's a lot of us working around the clock to make sure you're never elected again. Okay, that guy out there in San Bernardino, California, remember him? What was his name? Short guy with the not Pima County, San Bernardino. What was his name? For the little boy, Emmanuel Haro. Anyways, he's trying to run for California governor, and every time he makes a post now, whether it's on X, whether it's on Facebook, I'm right there saying he's not the guy. He was horrible during Rebecca Haro, putting clips in there and stuff like that. Show them you don't want to vote for this guy. A lot of people in that area that are on that post are going to see that and see his behavior and see how he treated people. Because let's face it, 90% of America loves social media, interacts with this social media, engages with social media on a daily basis. Why would you be angering that base? Just food for thought.
Went back on his word. We waited a half hour, 45 minutes when we could have been out investigating. He just didn't treat people the way you'd want to be treated.
Allison, how about just putting out statements saying we will not be doing interviews or having press conferences, and suddenly there's an interview with NBC? What do you mean? Suddenly there's another interview with a local. Like, wait, just stick with whatever it is you're saying.
He can't do it. He is such a camera whore. Chris Nanos is a camera whore. Because, the FBI made him shut up because he was leaking all types of information out there in the press conferences, and they thought it was a poor job for him to continue to talk at the press conferences, and he was doing the same thing in his office with all these news organizations.
And be consistent, because now there's very little faith. Let me go to this next one. The inside of the home, again, one of the biggest questions I have is, where is the crime scene inside the home? My source said there's blood droplets inside the home that match the pattern outside. Straight up and down blood droplets, no sign of a struggle. But where? What did they find?
No sign of a struggle. I'm telling you, the more we hear about from these sources, and if they do pan out to be true, which we don't know if they will, then you're talking about somebody that was basically shot in their bed, picked up because he had a gun. What was he doing with that gun? Okay, so I'm going to say most likely shot or bludgeoned, because there's blood, right? So we have it sounds like if the pattern is going outside the house, that means they did whatever they did in that bedroom, and they rolled her up into something and took her out of the house. If everything that Ashley Banfield is saying is true about these droplets, then that's what it's saying to me. Then it's saying she was attacked in her bed. If this was a lone person and there's no secondary person, I believe that this was a sexual assault and a homicide as a result of it. If there are more people involved in this, which there is indication that might be the case, because we have something in the assailant's pocket on that front porch, and it looks like a walkie-talkie. And people don't have a walkie-talkie if they're not talking to another person. Okay? So it doesn't sound like a struggle. It sounds like drops. That means she truly was killed in her bed. This sounds like a hit to me. Just saying.
Well, the only thing I went by was that Savannah Guthrie said that they pulled her out of her bed in the middle of the night. So that's the best I could think of, that it's somewhere around in that bedroom. Because, and again, I'm guessing. I don't have the proof of that. I just know what she stated, and it was very specific.
Taken from her bed in the dark of night was what Savannah's exact words were.
And she's a broadcaster. We don't say things by accident.
She's not going to mess with it. Yeah. Words are important. We know every single word. And in a case like this, that's under the microscope, Savannah, of everybody, would know every single word was being, people were hanging on every word.
That's what that was my takeaway from that. In terms of, I do have to say one more thing about the sheriff. The thing that I found the most despicable or difficult with the sheriff, I shouldn't say despicable, and I know
I have one of those too, and it has a longer antenna on it. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on a second. mean, it has a much, much larger antenna on it than the one observed. So I do have that. But here, what does it say? Betty, are you alive? Love to see. No, that's not. I don't. Anyway, so here is, if you guys can see that, here is a, this is a scanner, a law enforcement scanner right here. You turn it on. Obviously, it's dead. Obviously, it's dead. Oh, and I must have accidentally left it on because it didn't click on like it was supposed to. So that tells me, oh, there's the power button. Let's see if we can turn it on. So we got it turned on. Got it on the lock right now. So we do have this, and this right here is a, did I lose my glasses? Did I not bring my glasses in here? Good gracious. This is a Bearcat. This is a Bearcat scanner. If anybody knows the Bearcat scanner, this is an SR30C. So this is the antennas that I'm accustomed to on police scanners right here. Okay, and a lot of people use their, well, even if they can't use their cell phone, but this is kind of, so we have police scanners around here. We have walkie-talkies around here. We do have equipment around here, okay? Whether we use it or not, because now they have all the police scanners on your phone, So I say, like, there's a jammer. I got a jammer. I got the police jammer right here. No, this is a scanner. This is to, if you know the circuit that they're on, if you know your local police protocols, you know what back channels they use, and you could really listen in on what's going on, even though you're not really supposed to. You very much could. And, this helps you identify things. Even if you're not able to find, or you don't have internet access, you can still use this to kind of log in. You just got to find out what channel they are working on. And typically those channels are standard in certain states. So you just got to find out what channel yours is standard on and set it to that, and you'll be able to listen in as long as you have batteries, on this. So it's not a walkie-talkie. You can't communicate with anything. It's only one way. You can only hear what's going on, but we do have it. And like I said, look how long this antenna is. This antenna is like really long. And the other one just kind of had an antenna right about here. Like that is about as long as the antenna appeared to be. It wasn't really, I mean, this is a long antenna. I would say, from about 6 inches, 8 inches, 9, I don't know. It's pretty big. I mean, it's pretty big. I'm just saying, it's a big antenna. You guys with all your nasty minds. Good gracious. Good gracious. The fact that they put down the YouTube reporters blows. Well, it's because, again, I know. It's because, again, they've lied to us for a long time. I don't want to get into the battle of, mainstream media and social media. It exists. The bottom line is people are tired of being lied to. People are tired of pussycat journalism. At the end of the day, we apply pressure. We used to have this type of journalism back in the 80s and 90s. I don't know where it went to. Everybody got so scared to step on politicians' toes. Screw you, politicians. You work for us. And I'm sorry, mainstream media needs to have some balls. Like they can't get elected without you. They need you more than you need them. Trust me. So when people start putting their big girl and boy pants on and start telling these politicians, you're not going to ignore us, and if you do, we're going to start doing hit campaigns against you, you'll see a big change in the way mainstream media. I don't want to be going after mainstream media's jobs, but quite frankly, I'm sick of the lies. And I trust my research more than I trust anybody else's. Somebody else was talking to me about, something that, political. And I'm like, look, I'm not going to sit there and criticize your opinion. You vote for whoever you want to. But the only person I trust to do research in this world is me. I don't trust somebody else's research. I trust my own. And if I got to make decisions for me, that's who I'm making decisions for. Size matters. You guys are so nasty. You guys, come on, calm down. Calm down. Love me a big antenna. We love big antennas around here, eh? Is that what it is? All right, let's get back. No more discussing antenna sizes here, okay?
He was under a lot of pressure. But when somebody goes missing or they are abducted, the best friend you have is the media. We will get out the pictures. We will get out the word. We will have everybody looking, anybody see anything in that neighborhood. And if you say the search is over, then we report the search is over. So nobody's searching anymore. I mean, so many times, I have to say, I always feel kind of proud about it, that we can help. This is a good thing. Like when Riley Strain went missing and he ended up in the river, like that we spent weeks trying to see if we could get assistance and kept it in the news every night. You know,
Gabby Petito was found by streamers. Media.
You know, I mean, it's a every.
Well, this is what I just want to say to mainstream media. There's going to be a choice that you're going to be given in the next 5 to 10 years. And it's either to become one of us or to be fired. So I just want to let you know, I would be careful how you speak about our journalism over here, because as Ashley Banfield is finding out, it's a tough pill to swallow when you become the people that you've been complaining about. Just saying.
Everybody has a phone. Everybody can go out looking. How do you turn down the Cajun Navy too? What's that about? I mean, obviously they don't care if their dogs get stuff in their paws. I mean, or horses.
Well, they've got the protection. They've figured it out. These are all professional folks who do this for a living, and it's not like they haven't seen the Arizona desert before. People know what the Arizona desert was. What do you think the source of this is the other big question. The source of the unknown male DNA and where it may have come from that made them think it's important?
I think that in the struggle that there was some, you know, even putting her in a bag, you know, getting her to drag her out. Our FBI experts said actually with the droplets that that's somebody just bleeding down who's being carried. Because they're all like, we're just experts. Or they might have sneezed. There's a little tiny part.
Experts, folks, experts. They're saying that she was lifeless, basically. The experts. And I believe that News Nation does have, you know, people have to be professionals in drop patterns. There was one lady that came up. I totally disagree. So, you know, we also have to remember that a lot of this stuff is based upon science. And a lot of this stuff is based on perspective. So some of this stuff is subjective and some of this stuff is scientific. Some of this subjective stuff I've disagreed with. I can't argue with science because I'm not the one running the science. I did not do the testing. I wasn't involved in the testing. You know, I can't argue with science because I've got nothing to back or to counter the science. So I'm stuck with the science, but I'm not stuck with the subjective analysis of the science. And that's where we got to remember that even the scientific part has to be analyzed by somebody. And that analysis could change slightly or a lot depending on who is reading that information. So that's the subjective part. So we have to remember that, in my opinion.
Where they might have sneezed, but it was like her head came, you know, probably. I think with the droplets, and I think that she was passed out. I think they did something to her, maybe knocked her out. I mean, that's what I kind of thought. And
she thinks she knocked her out. I think she's dead. You know, either way, I think we are all kind of agreeing whether you think she was knocked out or deceased or dying. It sounds like she was thrown over somebody's shoulder, and that's what's leaving that pattern of droplets, just for perspective purposes.
Still bleeding, like hit her across the face or something, and then carried her out of there, maybe out the back door. I mean, but they went out the front door because their blood drops there. I'm sorry. Yeah. That was my mistake. I think that, I think she was carried, and that's what the FBI guys think. When they looked at
too, because the pattern, you're not walking someone who's dripping blood because you're not walking through the blood, as it's been reported to me from my sources. It's not stepped in and walked through, and doesn't appear to be stepped in the front door either, where we got the pictures.
No, and there's no what one of our sources said is, and you've had her on before, Maureen O'Connell said there would be an interruption in the blood drops if somebody's walking.
Yeah.
And they're all just totally on. So no, I don't know if she was dead when they left her because she, still bleeding. I'm not.
Well, you got to think of it like this. Even if oh, let me catch up real quick. Hold on. There we go. Even if she's dead and her heart stops pumping, it doesn't mean that the blood that has already pumped out isn't dripping. Okay? If she was completely dead, yet she had a heart wound, all of that pooled blood still is pooled blood. It's still going to come out. It's still going to drip. So you see what I'm saying? I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that.
A doctor, but I kind of think they knocked her out and then they took her, and I kind of think they took her because they had their DNA all over.
I mean, I look at the whole notion that we went through weeks of this whole ransom bullshit, and there's Nanos saying, and I've known since day one. What? Wait a minute. We believe we know why he was here and have known since day one. Then why did you waste all our time with ransom bullshit? Again, this mystery of how could you say you knew since day one when you were behaving totally different day one?
She makes a valid point.
It's mystifying.
It's not even mystifying. It seems disingenuous.
Yes.
Yes, it's mystifying that someone behave that way. I think that's what it is. And like you said, Allison, the media is your friend. They'll do anything to get this word out. I mean, we scratch each other's backs in that way, right? It's our product to talk about this missing woman. It's your product to try to get the word out, to get more tips and get those eyeballs. Someone will know and someone will solve it. And it usually is just that small linchpin. And the media helps you find that linchpin. And so with the Cajun Navy. Yeah. So to me, it's mystifying why there's just been such a rebuffing of everybody that works in the business of, true crime. Their standard operating procedure. He just seemed to fly in the face of it. The other question I have is, and this never made sense. The sheriff said early on that Annie and Tommaso dropped Nancy off. Then he said Annie dropped Nancy off. And then he said Tommaso dropped Nancy off. And he told the New York Times Tommaso dropped Nancy off. But then in the news conference 5 days later on Thursday, he said, let's just go with family. What was the point of obfuscating so blatantly? Why would that be? What can you see would be an advantage?
I would see that he wasn't finding any evidence against them. I would say they seized the car. They're looking into everything that they could find about them, and I think they're not finding anything. So he starts to walk it back, like everything else he did. Every time he said something, he would walk it back. And I got to tell you, think about it. If your kid stood up and said, I've known from day one and they've been lying to you. I know.
Proverbially.
So, I think that we can conclude that he hasn't been forthcoming, but I think it's because he's not supposed to say something, and during the course of his conversation, crap leaks out. He's a leaker. He doesn't know how to keep his mouth shut because he's so starstruck with all the cameras. He wants them. He wants the attention. He thinks it's going to be good for his reelection, and they're trying to recall him. They're trying to recall him. He's so poor. His community has given up on him. His police force has given up on him. The community, the people, everybody has given up on this man. And we're just asking him to turn the damn case over to the FBI, and he refuses to. He refuses to do anything to help this family, truly help this family, because he's so arrogant. He has tried to solve this case from day one because of his arrogance, not because of the benefit of solving this case properly. He wants to be the hero. He refuses to turn this over to the FBI. We understand that it is a county case and he doesn't have to do it. We're asking him to. We're asking him to.
For day one, you didn't tell me. Yeah, I mean, I think that he began to see the writing on the wall that it wasn't them, or there is no evidence that it was them, whatever. And then I guess he got some pressure to say that they cleared them. I guess, the only thing that I can juxtapose that with is that Savannah is busy making comments and statements trying to get people to help her find her mom. Meanwhile, the sheriff is busy walking back stuff that he said about the investigation that he shouldn't have said in the first place. If it was going to be a family member, go through all of them, see what evidence you can get, and then arrest them. We don't need to know all of that. That's the way it works. The next thing you see them parading somebody through, a perp walk.
I mean, I for that reason, why in the ever-loving God would they keep Annie's car for 42 some odd days?
So this is where I keep hitting my head against the hard surface. I want to smack Ashley Banfield. Ashley, it's not Tommaso. It's not Annie. There are other explanations for this. You've been doing this for 30 blessed years and you haven't figured that out yet. This is starting to say more about the fact that you don't know what the hell you're talking about and making up stuff. I mean, for flip's sake. This lady is going to tell you that it has to do with the car. They took the car apart. They took stuff off and sent it off for evaluation. They had to wait for the products to come back. If it was the infotainment center, the car wouldn't even be able to crank. Just saying.
You know what? I have to disagree with you. I'm sorry to interrupt, but this is when the FBI takes something, it takes a long time to get it back, and you have to be.
But the FBI didn't take it. It was the sheriff that took it.
But they sent pieces.
You got 10 days. You got 10 days until you got to make extension after extension after extension when you get those warrants.
But you have
and so you got to have a reason.
They sent pieces of the car to the lab, so we have a car that's been taken apart. Okay, when you take a car apart, it's going to take a while to put it back together, and unless I think Annie and Tommaso and Savannah, they all had other things to do. I mean, they all have there's a lot of cars there. We saw them all driving different cars. I mean, there were plenty of cars.
I get all that. I get that. But this one is under the microscope and it's causing consternation because lots of media were calling regularly and the same answers kept coming. It's part of the investigation. And then the next one was, we're in the process of releasing it. And the next week, we're in the process of releasing it. And then the next week, I'll have to get back to you. I mean, those are the kinds of things Well,
I'm going to tell you, I've already priced it out from months ago. Unless the plane tickets became astronomical, it's going to be about $2,500 for a week. So just to let you know, if you guys want me to go out there, we need to raise $2,500 and I'll go out there. Just FYI.
Again, if your true mission was to clear this family, for God's sake, why would you allow that to continue?
Well, maybe he was just trying to support his thesis that he had announced to the whole world. Every aspect of this investigation was broadcast. It makes me shocked. I mean, I was in Brown for the shooting. The shooting that happened in Brown and also happened at University of Massachusetts. We got very little information. We weren't even allowed near the door, where he had entered to shoot. I mean, we got to the door eventually. Because we are reporters.
And that's what people have to understand. Right. That's what people. Hold on. It's getting. We're having some technical little issues. I don't. Okay, it looks like I'm back. Looks like I'm back. I hate when my lips don't sync up. Hopefully they sync up at the end of this. But people have to understand that that's right. We do go and we have to get the job done. At the end of the day, sometimes we have to make calculated risks, okay? I made a calculated risk out at Alec Murdaugh's house after he sold the property. It was no longer his. A gentleman was out there and gave me once in a lifetime opportunity to go back there to the dog cages. And so I was getting ready to leave when he pulled up, and he was going back there. And I'm like, well, I'll follow you back. And you can hear the whole conversation with this man because he knew you'll get this done. Oh, so we're having a push. We are having a push right now in our chat to get me out to Arizona. I was not going to go, but Miss Robin is a pushy broad. She wants Bullhorn Betty coverage. So if you guys, $2,500, if I'm going to say, if, I'll go if we can raise the money or get close to the money that needs to be raised to get out there, and then we'll see where we're at. Okay, guys. If I had the cat, I know. All of us would, right? I mean, we're jammed. I'm surprised with all these resources. Doesn't have his own drone. It's not. I don't think it's that he doesn't have his own drone. You got to understand. It takes. Yes, I am. She is. It's learning how to do a new drone. I mean, Jonathan, I would presume. I mean, he's kind of all over the place. He's always online and stuff. I mean, it takes time to learn that stuff. Where is he going to find the time to learn how to fly a drone? I've got 2 drones here, and every time I take the time to fly them, because I got cheap drones, I forget how to hook them up to the phone to record. I'm starting to learn how to fly them though, but to be honest with you, I think I'm going to get a remote control that records on the remote control or has the screen on the remote control. So it does take skill. It's not, I mean, you can get enough just to kind of get by with, but again, it's just a little bit more difficult than you might think to fly one. I mean, I already killed the wings on my very first drone. I had it broke in 15 minutes of flying, and my wings were done. I got 15 minutes with it, and that was it. So I kind of get it. But I'm glad somebody did have, drone footage out there. Like I said, I've got 2 drones here. One, and they both work just fine. I just can't figure out how to hook them up to my phone and get them to record from my phone or record on my phone. So it's one of those things. Let me see what I can do. I have connections and get free flights. Oh, okay. Well, we'll see what we can do. We'll see what we'll bring. Pull resources. If you guys want me out there, pull the resources. If we get the resources pulled together, like I said, I'll go. I work for you guys. So at the end of the day, we'll go out there. We'll investigate. We'll give it a thorough investigation. We'll go pull public records. I don't know why nobody pulled public records. I want public records. I want public records of. I just want public records. We'll keep what I'm looking for out, but I want public records. So that's going to be another. We had a drone guy there, and they're still there. Well, that's good. That's good. I can hopefully it'll be Southwest. Oh, that's fine. That's fine. I'm not going to be picky. Oh, wow. This is really taking off, guys. Okay, so let's get back to this. If you guys, let me get this off. If you guys choose to get me out there, like I said, I'll go. Okay, let's finish this up, and then we'll further discuss.
But, it was just, clamped down. And then when everything started to happen, we got to know. And everybody started going to the places that they needed to know. And there were press conferences that were very much on point. They gave away very little, but they did answer some questions. So, I mean, there was a little bit of hostility even at the Brown one towards the media. I just don't understand. Certainly here in Los Angeles or in New York, they ask for the public's help. And the asking for the public's help is like saying, media, get that stuff out there. This sheriff, vindictive, insecure, in terms of how he's treated his staff, at least according to the people that I spoke with at length over the 3 weeks I was there. And disorganized.
By the
and
way, some of those staff, not to interrupt, but just because I'm on that train, some of those staff complained that the sheriff, the tools that he used in order to come to the decision to announce publicly that the family is all cleared were polygraph tests.
Okay, so that's kind of where we are going with this whole polygraph test thing. I don't want to play that. This is going to be for a later show because this is important. A lot of you guys have been stating, what if you get kidnapped? I'm not going to get kidnapped. Like they don't want me. No kidnapper wants to deal with Bullhorn Betty, okay? I got a mouth on me. Nobody wants to put up with my shit. I'm just saying. Only you guys are dumb enough to put up with my shit day in and day out. I'm just saying. You guys are beautiful people. Thank you, Sheila. Thank you, Sheila. Wow, we've already got $140. We already got $145. Oh my gosh, please, if donate. Oh my gosh, you guys are cray cray. You guys are cray cray. Thank you for the donations. Thank you for the donations. If we can raise it, we will be out there. We're going to be coming back later this afternoon with about a 4 p.m., 4:30. And we're going to be going over the polygraphs. And I think this is interesting. It's breaking news. It's something we didn't know about before, but it's polygraphs and it's the clearing of the family and how you guys are going to feel about the information that may or may not be accurate. So if you guys would like to donate, we're having some people push in the chat. They want me out in Arizona. I'm willing to go out in Arizona. If we can raise the money to get me out in Arizona, we'll go out to Arizona. It's going to be about $2,500. The reason why I know this is because I was trying to budget it before and it was too much for me to budget. So that was the budget I came up with. That's a very conservative budget. That's for plane fare, auto rental. We have to have luggage fees because I got to bring some equipment out with me. So I've got to, I got to have a bag. And 2, so you're talking about additional fees, almost $100 per trip to get my equipment out there. So that's $200 round trip. So all of those things do add up. I don't go and pay for a selected seat. I don't care where I sit. I don't get fancy hotels. I don't get the fancy vehicle, but I get a vehicle because it's rougher terrain out there. So we're going to have at least an SUV or truck to work out there. So we, those are the things that I looked at when I was looking at possibly going out there earlier in this. But if you guys want me out there, we'll do boots on the ground investigation. The media has cleared out. We might get yelled at by some of the neighbors. They might be willing to talk to us. Maybe something new is sparked up that they didn't have. Maybe they were just overwhelmed by all the media out there. We never know. We never know. So use pay apps. YouTube takes half the donations. They take about 30%. They do take, YouTube does take quite the 30 to 40% of the fees, depending on which one it is. I use Subaru, no Range Rover. I'm not doing a Range Rover. No, we're not getting. So it's only. I think it's probably going to be an SUV. But anyways, that's the budget. I appreciate for all you guys trying to come together to get me out there. So we'll see. We've got a 4:30 show today. We'll see what we do and see what we do this weekend. If we can get the money up within the week, we'll fly out. The sooner we get it, the sooner I'll start making reservations, and the sooner I'll have to find out where to put Delilah for a week. So we will only be going out there for 1 week though. So it'll have to be a very, very coordinated and planned week so we get as much done as possible while we're out there. So before we get out there, we'll find out what everybody wants to make sure we can see and do. and we'll make a list. So it looks like we're already starting to prepare. We've got $145 that has been raised so far, and we're looking for 25. So, all right, guys, we'll see you soon. We'll see what we can do. Again, this is the audience pushing. I do what you guys ask me to do. We will be back later today to talk about this polygraph test and what you think about this. Is this legitimate, how we clear people in this? And is this going to make things more difficult hearing this, learning this, and still having this uneasy feeling about Tommaso? So you're not going to want to miss the next show. The next show will be at 4:30 this afternoon, where we're going to dive into this very tough topic of conversation, but one we here in the true crime community need to have. Rock it out with your coffee beans out. Don't forget to be fearless. If you see something, say something. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And until next time, please be safe, but more importantly, kind to one another. God bless, and we will see you soon. We will see you soon.